internet. It's time once again for Gaming with Max Von Puppet. That's me. Today, I'm super excited to be talking about this little game right here, Best Treehouse Ever. Why, you might ask, am I excited to talk about a game you've probably never heard of? Because this was a project that I backed on Kickstarter. One of the first games I ever backed on Kickstarter. So I'm super excited to have received it in the mail. I was super excited to play it last night, and now I'm super excited to be sharing it and reviewing it with you. It is available right now for pre-order on the on the website for the game's manufacturer. That's Green Couch Games. And before I get into the game a little bit, I do want to take a moment to talk about the Kickstarter project and Green Couch Games. And I just want to say, Green Couch was great during the manufacturing of this game, during the entire Kickstarter project. They were super communicative, they kept everybody posted and notified about what was going on, it was just really good. It was really professional. I really feel like Green Couch is an actual gaming company and not just a couple of guys in their garage making games on Kickstarter. Not that there's anything wrong with that, just, you know, they don't feel like a couple of amateurs, they feel like a real company, and I appreciate that. And also, they just make a really good product. This is actually the second game by them I've received in the mail. I received, in this same Kickstarter, I added to my order their first game that they also kickstarted, a game called Fidelitas. Now, the reason I haven't reviewed that one with you guys is because I haven't played it yet, and the truth is I really prefer to play a game before I review it so that way I know what I'm talking about. When I say it's a fun game to play, I can say that because I've actually played it and had fun playing it. But this game I just received yesterday and played it last night with my family yesterday. That doesn't actually mean anything to you out there at internet land, since anybody who watches this, even when it gets posted, yesterday was probably, you know, 3 or 4 days ago, and then there's all of you people watching this in the future. Hello, future people! Yeah, yesterday's meaningless. But anyway, I just received it, is the point, and I got a chance to play it last night with my family. The three of us, my wife, my kid, and I, we all played it, and we had a really good time. It was a lot of fun. Best Treehouse Ever. It's pretty much exactly what the title implies. You and the other players are all competing with each other to build the best treehouse ever. You have 3 weeks to build your treehouse, which is, in game terms, means there's 3 rounds of gameplay, each one representing a week. And at the end of the game, you score points. Actually, at the end of each round, you score points based off of how you've built your treehouse. You score points based off of the types of room you've put in your treehouse, how many of a type you've put in there. You score points based off of... there's some advanced rules for scoring points based off of configurations of rooms in your treehouse. I'll get to that in a minute. Mostly you score points based off of how many rooms are in your treehouse of a particular kind. And we'll touch on that when I open up the box and show you what's how the game actually works. But it's a lot of fun. It's for 2 to 4 players. Says it takes about a half an hour on the box, which seems about right. We played with 3 people last night. Took us about 20 minutes to play through one game, and that was perfect. Especially considering none of us had ever played before. It's super easy to pick up. It's super easy to teach, and it's a fun, easy, quick game to play. And I love those kinds of games, as you are all well aware by now, I'm sure. So, enough about that. Let's look inside the box and see how the game actually works. Okay, and here we are inside the box, looking at the game itself. All the components laid out here. We'll get to talking about them in just a second. Before we get into it, though, I do want to talk about the box itself for just a second. I know to a lot of people, boxes are kind of irrelevant to the game, but for me, packaging is important. It's not going to stop me from buying the game necessarily, but I like to know that the game is well packaged. So this is what Green Couch Games is calling their standard box. The idea is that all their games are going to come in it. So far they only have 2. I've got both of them. They do come in this box. I've ordered a 3rd one through Kickstarter. I guess not ordered, backed it. I backed it through Kickstarter. And that's also coming in this same box. So it does look like they're being truthful about that standard box. It's a good box. It's well constructed. It's big enough to hold all the cards in the game, which is important. And the idea is that they're making small. You can see the size of the box here. They're making small games that are quick to play and easy to carry with you, and that's great. So it makes a great box to bring. It's easy to bring along to conventions, or just out traveling, or whatever you want to do with it. I do have one slight problem with the box, though, and that's that, as you can see here on the side, there's no little finger tab for you to put your thumb on the bottom half of the box and lift it out. It does make it a little more difficult to get the box open when you're first trying to play, but really overall just kind of a minor issue that I have with boxes. It does bug me when they don't put those on there because it does make it a little more difficult to open the game. To me, getting into the game quickly is part of the box design, and this one kind of failed on that. But otherwise, there you go. As I backed it on Kickstarter, I did get this little package of special cards that are only available with the Kickstarter. I'm not going to get into them too much. They're mostly advanced play cards that add some depth and more strategy to the game. There is a surprising amount of strategy when you're playing this game, but let's get into some of the components of the game right here. So everything is a card. All the cards are the same size. You'll see here this is the score track. I've got one of the score markers on there just to show you how the score track works. There's the score marker. You can see it. Nice wooden shaped marker right there. The score track is 3 cards. Now, one of the things I like about the way this game did the cards that are not playing cards of the game is that they're two-sided. So it's exactly the same on both sides of the card. Makes it easy to find all the non-playing card games, all the non-playing cards. And so that's the score track. It does only go up to 50. In a 4-player game, you're likely not to get a score that high. Pretty close, but maybe not higher than that. I found that in a 3-player game, you do run into scores that get over 50, but that happens in a lot of games with score tracks. You go over the score track a lot. These cards right here are what are called game changers. We'll get into what those are later, but they change how many points particular types of rooms are worth. These are the score cards. These tell you how many points rooms of a particular color or type are. You can see there's 6 types or colors of rooms. Orange activity rooms, blue water rooms, yellow education rooms, purple entertainment rooms, green outdoor rooms, and brown food rooms. The color has a rule related to it, but the types of rooms are really kind of irrelevant when you're placing the game. It's really more about the color. Here's the rulebook. I want to look at the rulebook for a second. The rulebook is really well put together. It's about a little smaller than the box. I love the blueprint look on the outside of it. That's really kind of cool. One of the things I bought this game for was it reminded me of a television show called Phineas and Ferb. I don't know if any of you ever watched that. But this, there was an episode in it where they did build what they thought would be the best treehouse. And they use blueprints all the time in that show. And so the blueprint cover really appealed to me. I liked that a lot. It's a well-made rulebook, lots of pictures, very well laid out, easy to understand instructions, nothing overly complicated. And all the advanced rules are in there as well. Optional rules, I should say. Another little thing that comes with it. So here's the base of your tree. There are 4 of these. They're each different colors. Here, there's some other ones up here. So it's red and orange and yellow. And they each have their own little way into the tree, which I think is kind of cool. So they're all a little unique. And you can see there's this little acorn piece right here. Dang it. There's a little acorn piece right here that represents the balance of your tree. Again, nice wooden piece right there. And it represents the balance of your tree, which we're going to talk about in just a second. And you can see there's other ones over here for the different colors of the other players. So here's how the game works. You start out, it's played in 3 rounds. Each round you get a hand of 6 cards. So here's my hand. I'm just going to go ahead and flip it over and show you because it's really kind of irrelevant. Each hand is made up of these room cards. And you can see the room cards, the deck of the room cards, they have that same blueprint color in the back, which again I really like. So what you do is you're going to pick, you pick one room from your hand, place it in your tree, and then pass the hand to your left. So if you ever played a game like Sushi Go or Seven Wonders, Kind of similar to that. You pass the hand around. At the very beginning of the game, when you don't have any rooms in your tree, it's kind of irrelevant which ones you put in there. But there's rules to placing the room in your tree that might affect how you want to do that. So let's go over those for just a second. Here's how this works. When you place a room in your tree, like let's say this one, we're going to place a room in the tree, it either goes on the right or the left. You'll see there's a division in the middle here, right? That decides, so you place it either on the right or the left of the tree. When you place it on one side or the other, so we place this one on the right, you move the balance token over to the right. So now the tree is balanced towards that direction. So what that means is I cannot place any more rooms on the right side of the tree. The tree has to be balanced, so my next room has to go on the left side of the tree. So when the hands come back around to me, I get to place another card in there. I'm going to place this one here, right? And now the marker moves back to the center because it only moves one space every time you do that. The other rule about placing it into one of the other rules about placing your room in your tree is it has to have at least 2 rooms underneath it, unless it's on the edge of your tree. So this right here would be the edge of my tree. I can place the room there, or I could place the room there without having to have a room underneath it. So what that means is, let's say I place this room here, and then the hand comes back around me, and I got this card, and I want to place it here. I can't do that because you see there's no room underneath it, right? I could place it over here, because that's on the edge of the tree. But I can't place it here because there's no room underneath it. And let's go back here for just a second. You'll notice that there's this spot right here that's the dead center of the tree. So what happens when you place a room dead center in the tree? And what does that do for the balance marker? Well, it does absolutely nothing. The balance marker will not move. You place it right in the center of the tree and the balance marker doesn't move. And the final rule for placing rooms in your tree is with color. It's related to the color. So how this works is when you first place a color in your room, you can put it anywhere you want. When you first place a color in your room, you can put it anywhere in your tree that you want. But after that, all subsequent rooms of that color, so any other rooms you get that's the same color, have to be touching another room of that same color. Right? Which means that you can, and probably will, cut off one color at some point during the course of placing trees in your game by nature of the fact that you're passing the rooms around. So that may affect how you want to place rooms in the beginning of your hand. You saw earlier that this hand had 3 blue cards. Knowing that, I probably wanted to put a blue card in the beginning of my tree, hoping that that hand came around with blue cards in it still so I can place more blue cards in my room. Because as you noted up here, you're going to score at least 1 point for each color that you have, and at the end of the game, the person with the most of a particular room color scores 1 more point per room of that color. So you want to try and start collecting as many colors of each tree that you have. And that goes on until you're out of cards, until the hand gets done. So let's, brief second, talk about what happens if you cannot legally place a card in your tree. If you are incapable of legally placing the card in the tree, what you do at that point is you have to discard the card. You still have to pick a card, but you have to discard it. Which means you're now at a disadvantage because you don't have a room in your tree, but you may be able to screw over one of your opponents by taking a card away from them. So that's kind of neat. And then what happens, so you do that until you're out of cards, and everybody's played the last card in their hand, and when that's done, then you go to the scoring phase. And so before that happens, you get to these game changer cards. So how this works is this. The person with the highest score picks the first game changer card they want. Now at the beginning, nobody's got a score, right? Everybody has a score 0. So the oldest person at the table picks the game changer card they want. There's 2 different types of game changers. There's this one, which makes a room worth 2 points per room, a color room, a room type. And this one makes a room type 0 points per room for this round. So you start with the oldest person, or the person with the highest score. They pick the game changer they want, and then you go around the table until everybody's picked one. In a 4-player game, that means all 4 are going to be played. In a 3-player game, that means one of them is not going to be played, and in a 2-player game, you only have 2 cards, so it doesn't really matter. You take away 2 cards, so you have 1 of each. Then you go in reverse order. So the last person to pick a card is the first person to place one, and you place the game changer cards on the scorecards to determine what type of room gets that type of game changer. So, for example, if I picked this 2-point card. And and I get to place it anywhere I want to. Let's say, for example, that last round, if I had played 2 of those 3 blue cards, I am going to put my 2 points on the blue to try and score as many points as I can with those blue rooms in my tree. And you do that for 3 rounds. That's how the round ends. The score, you score at the end of the round, you move the score tokens around, and then you move on to round 3 with a whole new hand of cards. And you do that again every round 2, do the whole new hands of cards, and you do it again with round 3, and you do it again at the end for round 3, and then you end the game. And at the end of the game, you do this game changer thing one more time, and then you count up most rooms of a particular color. Now, those of you who are math savvy will note that there is 6 rooms, but a maximum of 4 players. So what that means is 2 players are going to end up with 2 colors as having the most rooms of that color. I mean, statistically, you could end up with one person who's got 3 rooms, the most, of 3 rooms. That's a possibility too, I suppose. And if you can do it, then great, because you'll get a lot of points that way. And that's basically it. There's not a lot more to this game. There are some advanced cards over here. Let's talk about those for a second. Optional cards, I suppose I should say. I call them advanced, but they're really just optional cards. The advanced cards are the ones that I got with the Kickstarter packet. These are optional cards. These are called bonus points, bonus cards. So you can screw in extra points. So again, they have a back to them, but they're a different color back, so they stand out from the main deck with this white blueprint on it, which again I think is really cool. And so how these work is you want to put rooms in your trees in that order. So like the top row here has an outdoor room, an entertainment room, and a food room. And you want them in your tree in that order in one level. And if you do that, you get 3 points. And then this bottom one has an activity room, a water room, and an education room, but making that little triangle shape. So if you can do that, you get 4 points. And so they're just extra ways for you to get extra points. And if you play with those, basically how it works is everybody gets one at the beginning of the game. And if you can score them, you score them, and then you can draw another one. There's no negative for having them. You don't lose points if you don't get that set up. But it's just a way to earn some extra points and make the game maybe a little bit more challenging. And as you can see, there is in fact actual strategy for this game. For such a simplistic game, it does have a lot of depth to it. You can maneuver to try and get the cards you want, try and prevent your opponent from scoring points. There's a lot more to it than it first appears. But that's basically it. That's really all there is to this. It's a great, fun, little, quick game. Okay, there you have it. Best Treehouse ever. Lots and lots of fun. It's available right now for pre-order on the Green Couch Game website. It's not actually in stores just yet, but if you want to, you can jump on their website and pre-order it. I will post a link below. And I think that's really all I have to say about this. It's just a fantastic, fun little game. I'm super happy I kickstarted it. I got those special advanced cards. I don't know how that's going to be available to people who didn't kickstart the game. Maybe they won't. I'm not really clear on that. But it's fun anyway. It's a fun little game, and I highly recommend it. I haven't played with those yet, so just the base game is still a lot of fun, and I highly recommend playing it and picking it up. It's about $20. Totally worth the price. And that's it. Keep playing games. Bye!